Okay, so let's look at a second example and determine what paradox is occurring. And again, we're going to use Hamilton's method, so at least we're using the easier method here. So we've got a legislature which has 50 seats in it that we're going to apportion among these 5 counties, and we're going to use Hamilton's method. So again, I'll make a table for this. Right, so again, I've created a table here, and see if I can get beneath the table for us to do our divisor. So I've added up my population, which is 1,800,000. There we go. And we want to divide that by 50 seats that we're going to apportion. And that comes to a divisor of 36,000. All right, now remember we're going to get our quotas by taking each of these county stations and dividing it by our divisor, 36,000. So I'll do 300,000 divided by, I'll get 8.33333. So I'll just take that to 4 decimal places. 156,000 divided by 36,000, and we'll get 4.3333. And now 346,000 divided by 36,000. This one gives 9.6111. And now let's do 408,000 divided by 36,000. That is 11.3333. And then finally 590,000 divided by 36,000. That's going to give us 16.3889. All right, so let's remember we're using Hamilton's method, so we're just drop the decimal portions. We're going to have 8, 4, 9, 11, and 16. And if we add those up, that's 12, 21, 32, 48 seats. Okay, so we have 2 more seats to apportion. We're going to use the biggest decimals first. So Madison has the biggest decimal at 6111. So Madison will certainly get an extra seat. And then the next biggest decimal is Franklin with 3889, and they will get an additional seat. And everybody else will stay the same. So our final allocation is now at 50 seats. Okay, now that we've got that allocated, we're going to make a change and see what paradox occurs. So in 10 years, the populations are recounted, and we have to reapportion the 50 seats. So we still have the same number of seats in this Congress, but the populations have changed somewhat. And let's compare. Let's see, 346. Looks like Madison, its population has gone up, and Franklin has gone up slightly. Madison went up by, looks like 6,000 people, whereas Franklin went up by 2,000 people. So we would certainly think that if anybody had anything to gain here, it would be Madison, since their population increased more than Franklin did. Okay, so let's see what happens. We're going to reapportion with this new population chart here. All right, so we're going to have to do our divisor again because our actual population did change. So we'll take the new population that I've totaled up, and we still have 50 seats to apportion. So let's divide the population by those 50 seats, and our new divisor ends up being 36,360. All right, so let's now divide each one of these populations by the new divisor of 36,360. So 300,000 divided by this, that ends up being 8.2508. And now let's take our 156,000 and divide it by the 36,360. And that ends up being 4.2904. And then let's do our 362,000 divided by the 36,360. And that ends up being 9.9560. If I could type 60. And now let's take our 408,000 and divide it by the 3636. And that gives us 11.2211. And finally, let's take our 592,000 and divide it by our 36,360. All right, so we get 16.2816. All right, now, still using Hamilton's method. So the apportionment, we're just going to take off our decimals. So 8, 4, 9, 11, and 16. And let's add those up. Let's see, we've got 12, 32, 48 again. All right, now we have 2 more seats to give away because we're still apportioning 50 seats. And let's look at our decimals. Biggest decimal is Madison right here. So Madison is going to get an additional seat. And next biggest decimal is Clay right here. So Clay will get an additional seat. And then everybody else will remain the same. And now we should have our 50 allocated. All right, so let's compare this to what we had above. So if we compare here, let's look up above at our previous allocations. Let's notice that Clay gained a seat, even though we had noticed that Clay's population didn't change at all. It went from 156 to 156, right? 156 to 156, no change, but it got another seat. Madison, the one we thought should get a seat, did not get a seat because it's still at 10, and it was at 10 previously. All right, but let's notice what did happen. Franklin had 17 seats in our final allocation last time. Its population did grow by 2,000, but it lost a seat. It lost the seat to Clay that didn't grow at all. So this, let's go up to our paradoxes and see which one this is. So we really had 2 places that grew. We would have expected that at least one of those would have gotten more representation as opposed to things that didn't grow having representation. But we had a state that had, or a county in this case, that had no change in its population, and it actually got another seat, while one that changed, it went up in its population, lost a seat. All right, so that, let's take a look. Let's look at the population paradox. Populations grow, but a state with a higher growth rate loses a seat to someone with a lesser growth rate. And certainly we saw growth in that last county, I believe it was Franklin, but it lost a seat to a county that had no growth at all. So this is the population paradox. So this created a population paradox.